Hey guys, I'm Jeremy from Black Collar Arms. I'm going to go over how to install one of our barrels into a factory action. This is a Remington 700 factory action that we bought for like 300 bucks. Small bolt face for 300 blackout or 223, and this is our 6.5 inch 300 blackout barrel. Now it doesn't have to be a factory action, you can use a really fancy custom one as long as it has your standard Remington threads on the front. Even though we've gone ahead and done a Savage style nut on our barrel to make installation super easy at home, about 15 minutes you can install a barrel from scratch, or you could swap if you want to do a different caliber or a different length or whatever. We are using the normal Remington threads. So let's go ahead and see how it's done. So first up, let's talk about the tools that you will need. You're going to need a go, no-go gauge set. This lets you set the headspace of your barrel correctly for the caliber you're using. So this is 300 blackout go, no-go gauges. You will need a recoil lug if your action doesn't have one. Factory actions don't come with one. You will need a Savage barrel wrench, or barrel nut wrench. This fits our barrel nuts as well. And you will need an action wrench. We are actually going to take the handle off of this. It comes with the handle, and if you don't have a bench vise, you can easily do this at home with just this. You basically use this handle to hold the action cell, and then you're going to torque everything with the torque wrench. But for the purpose of our video, we're going to take the action wrench off of the handle, and I'm going to put it in this bench vise just to make the process a little bit easier for me. Finally, a torque wrench. And that's really it. That's all you're going to need. You may want to use some stuff like anti-seize. This is what you would put on the threads of spark plugs when you install them. Any normal anti-seize, that will help if you want to remove your barrel later. It'll come out easily, you won't get all frozen up in there. And a little bit of blue or temporary thread lock or Loctite for that barrel nut to make sure that it stays locked down. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to take that action vise or action wrench, take these big honking screws out and set them aside. First thing to do is get the action in there. And it comes with a 1/4 28 screw. This is the same as the action screws, and that is for lining up your action in the vise. And the reason you line it up is because it has a notch for the recoil lug, so it goes in the correct spot. This will not actually hold the action. All it's doing is making sure that it's lined up. So it's kind of a placeholder for the time being, making sure that the recoil lug is on the bottom. Now I'm going to take the other part of the action vise, set it on the top or bottom, and thread these guys in. In fact, I guess I could already clamp this in the bench vise to make it a little bit easier. I want to make sure you can see it on camera. Now the action vise will come with its own directions. It'll tell you to get the two pieces coming together nice and even, and it'll also say not to over torque them. You don't want to squish your action. You could do that torquing down on this thing. I think it's 10 foot-pounds or less that you put on these two big bolts. Now that I have these just barely finger tight, I'm going to remove this. I don't want to twist on this action screw. Okay, 10 foot-pounds. Now you can clamp this into your vise however you please. Alright, first step, take your barrel, take that barrel lock nut, move it down to expose some threads above it. That's where you're going to put your blue Loctite, drop or two up there. I'm not going to do it because I'll probably mess up the video and have to do multiple takes, and we're going to switch barrels around for testing and stuff, so I'm not going to Loctite it. But what you should do, take your anti-seize, I'm also not going to do that, brush it on the threads underneath it. So now that you have Loctite on the top, anti-seize on the bottom, doing the opposite thing, recoil lug, slide it on, and then we can start threading this into the action. After, the easiest way to do this is to take your go gauge, close and lock your bolt, drop the go gauge into your barrel, and then start threading it on. So now with this barrel nut up high, the barrel is going to go until it stops on that go gauge. And we're going to run it hard onto it. This is easier if you take the ejector out of your bolt, by the way, but you can just power right through it. Okay, so now I've got the barrel completely stopped against that go gauge. This is the absolute minimum amount of headspace that you could possibly run on the barrel. It would work like this with some loads, but not all. Don't run it like this. I'm going to run my barrel nut down till it's touching that recoil lug, and then what you want to do, and there are marks on the barrel, is turn it out just a little bit, one notch basically. That is likely going to get you in the just right headspace place, but we can also check that with the no-go gauge. you want your bolt to close on the go gauge, and it shouldn't close on the no-go. I put the no-go gauge here into the barrel. No way to get it to close. All right, we're at a good headspace. Won't close on the no-go. If I put in the go gauge into the chamber, this is actually easy to do with the action vertical. It's easy for you to see it this way though. We can close. Close on go gauge, not on no go gauge. We're good. Next up is to tighten down that barrel nut. I think it goes without saying, you don't want the barrel itself to spin. We just got our headspace perfect. We don't want to mess it up. If it goes in or out, it's going to mess it up a little bit. So, barrel nut wrench goes over the barrel nut. You want to tighten it to at least 50 foot-pounds. I have this guy set to about 55. Hold the barrel so it doesn't spin. And then, let's see if I can hold this table still. Push your torque wrench till it clicks. Done. And that is it. We now have an assembled action. Pretty darn fast and easy. You're going to want to check with that go, no-go gauge again. Make sure that you got that headspace correct and that it stayed correct before you go shooting, of course. If you want, you can take a brass from your favorite load or insert your favorite round into it to make sure that it chambers it nicely. Don't forget that this is a functional firearm like this, so stay safe if you're actually going to chamber a live round to make sure that it works. But we should all be good here. Next step, either install your rings on there for your optic or get a rail like that, put her on, and then just drop it in the chassis. It goes right in, nothing complicated. What you should know is that you want that recoil lug right up against the face of the chassis. There's a little bit of play in there on purpose, so maybe install it like this so it's touching. Put your action screws in, front and rear, tighten to about 35 inch-pounds, start shooting. Alright, thank you guys for joining me. We don't currently sell these tools, but if you go to our website to the Building a Pork Sword Pistol page, we'll link to all of them so you can find them really easily on the interwebs and get going with your own builds at home. Barreled action, 15 minutes, pretty sweet. If you need more information, go to blackcollararms.com. You can email our boy Jeeves at manservant@blackcollararms.com, and hopefully we'll see you on Instagram, as you guessed, at blackcollararms. Thanks for joining me. See you guys next time.